You felt it before you could explain it. Something about the way a certain person laughs. The way your chest tightens slightly when they walk into a room you didn't know they were in. You call it chemistry. You call it fate. But your brain doesn't work in fate. It works in shortcuts. And some of the most electric moments of falling in love aren't magic at all. They're mechanisms. Quiet, repeatable, almost embarrassingly ordinary mechanisms that your mind runs without asking your permission. Here's the first one. Psychologists call it the mere exposure effect. It's a simple rule. The more you see someone's face, the more your brain trusts it. Not because they earned it, just because it's familiar. That's why the coworker you barely noticed in January starts feeling oddly magnetic by March. Nothing about them changed. Your brain just stopped treating them like a stranger. Then there's a stranger one. In 1974, two researchers asked men to cross two different bridges. One was a sturdy, low bridge over a small creek. The other was a narrow, swaying suspension bridge 200 feet above a canyon. At the end of each bridge stood an attractive woman, asking them to fill out a short survey. The men crossing the terrifying bridge, hearts pounding, palms damp, were far more likely to call her afterward. Their bodies were reading fear. Their minds, scrambling to explain the racing heart, mislabeled it as attraction. Psychologists call this misattribution of arousal. Your body sends the signal. Your brain writes the story, which means that some of what you've called falling hard might have just been your nervous system, confused. There's a quieter trick, too. Watch two people who are falling for each other, and you'll often see it without either of them noticing. They start crossing their arms at the same moment, sipping their drinks in sync, leaning in at the same angle. Researchers call this the chameleon effect, and it happens automatically when your brain decides someone is safe. You don't choose to mirror them. Your nervous system just quietly starts matching theirs. Here's where it gets tender, though. In 1997, a researcher named Arthur Aaron sat two strangers across from each other and gave them 36 questions. Nothing dramatic, just questions that got quietly, steadily more personal. What would constitute a perfect day for you? When did you last cry in front of another person? What do you value most in a friendship? By the end, many of those strangers reported feeling closer to each other than to people they'd known for years. Not because of luck, because vulnerability, shared on purpose, builds intimacy faster than time ever does. So maybe it was never really about the right person walking in at the right moment. Maybe it's that closeness has a formula. Familiarity, a racing heart mistaken for longing. Two people choosing, even briefly, to be honest instead of impressive. None of this makes what you feel less real. It just means the part of you that falls in love isn't broken or naive or too easily fooled. It's just doing exactly what it evolved to do. Reading signals, building trust, reaching for closeness the fastest way it knows how. So the next time your heart races around someone and you can't explain why, you'll know. It was never really a mystery. It was just your mind quietly doing what minds in love have always done. If any of this made you see your own story a little differently, stay a while longer. There's another video on this channel about why the people who love the hardest are often the ones who learned love wasn't safe. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.